Hop là. On se retrouve du coup en live déjà. Les gens sont là, prêts pour du coup la présentation donc du 3e épisode, Heresy. C'est le cas de le dire, vous savez que moi j'étais un peu déçue par les épisodes, mais on va voir, je pense que ce sera dans la même veine que ce qu'on a pu connaître avec Revenant et Echo. Voilà, c'était pas la meilleure période en termes de saison, clairement, moi ce que j'attends, je vous l'ai déjà dit, c'est Destiny 3. Non, ça ce serait bien, mais ce serait mon rêve, mais non. À mon avis non, mais ce serait mon rêve. Ce que j'attends, c'est les prochaines extensions cette année, hein. Qui forcément, en forme finale, c'était vachement bien, faut pas l'oublier. Les saisons, clairement de ça, même s'ils appellent ça des épisodes. Et on va voir ce qu'ils nous disent. Après, voilà. Je dis ça, mais j'ai quand même fait mes saisons, mais voilà.
Hello everyone and welcome. It's good to see y'all again, Guardians.
Plus
Welcome
fort.
here to Bungie HQ. We're broadcasting live from beautiful Bellevue, Washington.
Y'a pas de save.
Today with our stream that's going to be talking through some of the awesome stuff you're going to be able to check out just next week when Act 1 of episode
La semaine prochaine,
Heresy launches on
effectivement.
February 4th. Now,
Et on va
worry
avoir
not,
le donjon
you're not
qui
gonna
arrive,
just
le
have to sit
nouveau.
here and listen to me. My name's Andy. I work on the social media team here at Bungie, but I've got some amazing colleagues here to go ahead and share some of the finer details of all the cool stuff we're going to be checking out today. So, to not waste any time and show y'all what you came here to see, let's go ahead and introduce everyone so we can get to it. First things first, this gentleman to my left, a brand new addition to our show. If you've joined us before, you may recognize his face, or not recognize his face, rather. The one and only Mr. Nico Stevens, narrative
Regardez ce
architect here at
poster
Bungie.
de Destiny
Nico, how's it
1
going,
là.
man?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Andy?
Sur la
Doing well,
table.
thank you. Obviously, your first time joining us. For anyone that may not have followed you on social media or may be wondering what it is a narrative architect does, can you tell us just a little bit about who you are and what you do here?
Sure. So I joined Bungie. I joined Bungie back in Season of Undying, like right at the tail end of that, and I've been working on seasonal content from then up until now and doing the episode stuff.
Yeah.
And I've done a few annual releases here and there. Did some Final Shape stuff. People might know my work from Presage or Warlord's Ruin or some of those.
Presage is like my favorite exaggeration of all time. I'm not even kidding.
I'm a little biased, but I do love it.
So good. All right, we can talk about that at another time, but thank you for being here, Nico. We appreciate it. Next to him, someone who's joined us in the past, actually, if you joined us for our episode Echoes stream, you probably recognize his face immediately. The one and only Ryan Harris, senior designer here at Bungie.
En vrai, j'ai dit ça, mais ça se fait pas.
It's going well,
Parce que c'est
man.
un
Thank you
tout,
very
quoi,
much.
mais-
For anyone that maybe
Il est pas
didn't
tout seul à
join
faire
us
le-
on the last Echo stream or is just seeing you for the first time,
L'épisode, mais oui,
can you
les
tell us just a
épisodes,
little
bon.
bit about who
Voilà.
you are and what you do here?
Ça, est mon avis.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm a senior activity designer here at Bungie. I've been around
Qu'il le
since
mette
season
pas sur les
100.
extensions, quoi.
Folks may know my content that I've worked on from most recently the Battlegrounds, from Echoes, and then before that at Savathûn Spire, and then the Defiant Battlegrounds.
Yeah, another one today to add to the best hits, obviously.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, thank you for being here, Ryan. We appreciate it. And last but very not least,
Le logo est
someone who
sympa.
needs no introduction, a friend to all Guardian kind, a voice of all of you fine folks out in chat, here in the studio, the youngblood
Épisode pour ne pas dire
Dillionaire
saison.
himself, Dylan Gaffner. Dylan,
Bah, en fait,
thanks
vous
for
avez
being here,
raison,
man.
parce qu'épisode, c'est moins bien que
Thank you.
saison.
How are you doing, Andy? Question
This
number
is
3.
Doing so well, thank you! Exclamation point, period. To
Mais
that same end,
le donjon arrive.
you are the global community lead here. Can you tell the folks at home that may not have accosted you on Blue Sky or anything like that?
Moi, je trouve
just a
qu'en ce
little
moment, le
bit about
donjon,
who
les
you
donjons,
are
c'est
and what it is you do
la
here.
pique
I mean,
activité
we're listening.
de
I'm
Destiny.
that guy. Bread, hashtag meme.
En
But
vrai.
ultimately, yeah, we
C'est must.
on the community team, we make sure to field all your feedback, get our roadmap of comms together for what's in a TWID, how can we set
Le 7?
expectations, what's all the
Prochain
cool
donjon.
stuff going on in Destiny.
On sera en live
in the
d'ailleurs
game or
dessus, hein,
outside of it
bien sûr.
too.
Le jour où ça sort.
Speaking of outside of it, I want to do a quick shout out to Mactix. We
C'est un
have a Game
vendredi
to
soir,
Give
du coup?
charity marathon going on right now. Actually, his time slot coincides with ours. So throughout this, we're going to be dropping links in chat to his charity page.
Awesome.
So if you want to support a good cause, help out the Bungie Foundation and all the people in need, hit up that link, check out the incentives, and donate some money if you can. If you can't, totally fine.
Yep.
Spread
Et
the word.
faites-le bien
And hey,
pour
do
la
yourself a
cause et
huge
pas que
favor
pour
while
les
you're out there, give
emblèmes.
Mactix a follow. Steal some of his builds. I know I do. I mentioned it last stream. All right, so that is enough about us. Let's talk about the cool things that you guys have been building. Obviously, we're about to go ahead and arrive at Act 1 of Heresy, but before
C'est
we
marrant,
get
ils ont pas mis de
there,
trailer
Nico, I'd
direct.
love to ask you really quickly, what got us to where we are today? Obviously, we're concluding episode Revenant, but a lot has occurred. Can you catch anyone up at home
lot
about what
has
happened
occurred.
last time?
Yeah, so the story of the
Calme-toi.
Echoes, which the episodes encompass, has it was kicked off from the Final Shape. So at the end of the Final Shape, we
On
killed
était
the
bien.
witness.
Spoilers.
Yeah, spoiler, sorry.
That witness is dead.
T'attendais.
So we take out the witness, and from the witness and from the Pale Heart, we see
Little
all of
potions.
these echoes like burst out and start flying across Seoul.
Yeah.
The first one that we encountered was in the hands of Maya Sundaresh. We dealt with her, she escaped. Second one we encountered was in the hands of Fikrul. We dealt with him, he did not escape. And then the third one that we are encountering is going to be here in the Dreadnought. And
Par
after
contre, l'emplacement
it
me
left the
plaît.
Pale Heart,
Sur le
a
cuirassé.
very specific dread that we're going to be seeing this episode gave chase to it. So we're going to be dealing
Alors
with
là, le méchant, il
the
avance.
Dread and the Taken and the Hive all revolving around this third echo.
Excellent, very exciting. All right, so we have up on screen here in just a moment, I think, the key art now for this
Ils ont que
next
des photos. Par
episode.
contre, elle est très stylée,
There's a lot
l'image.
going on here,
Yeah.
but Nico, I'll leave it to you. Can you tell us just a little bit about what we're seeing
L'image
here?
est insane.
Yeah. So I think the first thing that's probably going to draw a lot of people's eye
Yeah.
is that ghostly visage of Oryx peeking over the top there.
Yep, yeah.
Il y a des
So
tentacules.
Oryx is, I'll just say Oryx is back to some capacity, right?
Yeah.
Ah oui, il est dans
And
le
the
fond,
Echo
en
has
haut,
a
vous
lot
avez
to do
vu?
with that.
Il y a
So
Oryx.
not only are the Guardians jumping through, trying to figure out what exactly is going on in this first act, but
Il y a
they're
des
dealing
yeux
with
aussi.
this old foe that has been dredged up from the bones of the
poulpe.
Dreadnought.
Yeah.
And I don't want to reveal too much. But
no.
yeah, we're
No,
gonna
no,
be-
reveal
we're gonna
pas
be
too much.
clashing.
The Guardians will be there very soon. But so we're dealing obviously again
L'image
with the
me
Taken
hype,
King
hein.
again in some form. So we have some old foes returning. But before we go ahead and move on into gameplay and dive into that, we have some old allies returning as well. Can you
yeah.
tell us about some of the folks we're going to be working with this time around as well?
Yeah, so our main
craquait, oui,
cast
c'est ça que
right
cherchait Cabo.
now is
Un poulpe.
Eris Morn, which is our resident
Eris qui
witch
revient.
hive
Bon, ça, c'est bien.
expert.
J'aime
A lot
bien,
of
moi,
people
Eris.
know her from Season of the Witch, aptly named.
Elle a
or even
plus de
further back,
charisme qu'Eido, je
Season of
trouve.
Arrivals is kind of like the first time that
De
she jumped
personnalité.
back into this new sort of saga story arc. So we have Eris
Plutôt que
Morn. She
charisme.
is, as I said, a resident hive expert.
Eido, elle est gentille,
We
hein.
have the Drifter, her faithful companion, who is
Non, le
following
vagabond, c'est
alongside
pas du tout notre
and helping us
favori.
kind of pick apart what the Taken are doing here.
Yeah.
Laissez-le dans son
and,
truc.
I think I said at some point before that he always has his finger in the weird of the universe.
He certainly does.
And there's
yeah.
some weird going on here.
Eh mon frère, t'es prêt à tuer un
And then
kraken?
finally,
Mon
we
Dieu.
have Deputy Commander Sloan.
Right.
And Sloan
Ah, Sloan,
is
bien.
our Titan representation
Sloan,
here.
Eris, c'est bien.
People will remember her from Season of the Deep or even the Red War. And she has been afflicted with
Oh,
this like,
even the
Taken
Red War.
corruption
Bah oui,
that
oui,
we
quand
saw
même.
back in Season of the Deep. And she's learned how to sort of hold it back, but also utilize it to make her stronger.
Sloan, on aime, ouais. Le vagabond,
So
beaucoup
she
moins.
is
ouais.
going to be teaching us some of that.
Yeah, that's we're going beyond once again.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's safe to say. So we've obviously got a whole new cast of friends and enemies to go up against. But really quickly as well, something we were talking about a little bit earlier in the show is the player journey as well. It's something you guys are really excited about this time around. Can you tell us a little bit about how players are going to be experiencing some of these quests?
Yeah. So.
J'ai pas validé mon cheminement.
Okay, so players have been
PvP.
talking a lot about the structure of the player journey and how they'd kind of like to see it shaken up a bit, right? So this is going to be kind of one of our first steps into trying to make that happen in a more tangible way.
Cool.
So you will still notice some of those elements of like returning to a vendor or something like that, but you're also going to notice that we're doing a lot more bespoke, spread out delivery for these beats.
Cool.
You're going to find characters like in the midst of a mission sometimes.
Yeah.
There's some new tech that I don't want to spoil. I want players to see it in
That's
the
right,
game.
yeah.
But there's some new tech having to do with the way that we would holo project
c'est con, je l'ai
characters
fini ce matin.
in that sort of projection unit that you would
Un
find
autre
in the helm.
chemin quand on a
Yeah.
terminé.
We're expanding that out so that it's a little bit more versatile and it is more cognizant of where players want to be and less about like having to return to this one spot and kind of loop through the helm over and over again.
Thank you. Well, thank you guys. Obviously, I'm sure
Ça, c'est
our
plutôt
audience
positif.
of Guardians who have let Dylan know and his compatriots
Les
loud and
beaux
clear
le
what we're
bus de
looking for
Cade.
are happy to be hearing that. So
Let me
that's
go
exciting.
let me go to the helm. Let me talk to this character. Let me go back to the helm. Let me talk to this character.
Is there a hollow projector
Donc ils
somewhere?
veulent briser
Yeah,
cette
right.
boucle,
Yeah,
on
that's
revient
right.
tout le temps au
All
même
right.
endroit.
Really exciting. So as we kind of move into that player journey,
Comme avec par exemple.
we're going to be working on something called the Path of
Fail-safe.
Resolve. Can you tell us just a little bit
C'était
about
en
what
mode
that is before we dive into the
flemme,
gameplay
quoi.
here in just a moment?
Yes, so there is an
c'est
event
bien.
that happens at the beginning of the episode,
Exciting.
which people will see very, very soon
J'imagine
after the
que c'est
launch.
ça.
Yeah.
And this sort of kicks off
Oui, le M, c'est le simu.
Redacted.
Redacted, yes.
This redacted event sort of kicks off Sloane's motivation for teaching us about the taken power that she has been holding back.
Yeah.
And so that is the path of resolve here. She's going to be teaching us how to fight fire with fire. We're going to be going into the Dreadnought, taking some control of that taken energy, taking some control of those old
nous
hive
apprendre à
magics,
maîtriser
and
l'énergie
wielding
corrompue.
them, using our light, and using our paracausality, wielding that new power.
Il a
against
vraiment
our
placé le mot
We're going to be
paracausal.
obviously keeping Sloan very busy
Oh, yeah.
with that. But speaking
C'est
of,
lui
we
le
actually have
responsable.
our requisite local fire team here in-house in the activity as well. Ryan, this is
C'est
the
lui.
Nether. This is the new activity that's going to be arriving with Act 1 of episode Heresy. Can you tell us just a little bit about what this is for starters as we go ahead and kind of dive into it?
Yeah, so the Nether is a 3-player activity, and we are back on the Dreadnought's patrol zones. And we'll be exploring the Dreadnought, rooting out the
Faut qu'ils remettent les petits
taken
fragments à
hive and
récupérer
dread
là.
corruption that are taking place and
Moi je veux faire ça.
taking hold inside the Dreadnought itself as we go through these spaces.
Ce serait banger.
And the Nether itself is a uniquely different type of activity. We're really trying to baseline some inspiration for this activity was looking
J'ai
at
cette arme.
Shattered Realm, the Coil, and of course the Dreadnought's patrol spaces. Of course, we are in the Dreadnought.
Yeah.
And yeah, so just for starters, what you're actually
Leur
doing
écran est pas
inside the
assez
Dreadnought
contrasté.
is baseline. The patrol zones are randomized and varied. The encounters inside are varied and randomized as well. So time over time, when you launch into the activity, it's going to be a different starting bubble, different encounters, and different events and objectives for you to engage with and accomplish as you're exploring the Dreadnought itself.
Yeah. What kind of like modifiers would you say players are going to go up against in here? Because surely they're not just going to go into the Dreadnought and get a warm welcome necessarily.
Yes. Yeah, so the Nether
Ouais,
has
j'espère
some
aussi.
very unique modifications
Mais j'ai
to it that
l'impression
we're
que
experimenting
après là c'est
with.
pas timé.
So
Donc ça
first
va
off,
aller.
players do not regenerate health, and to compensate for that, we are doing something special where we're providing players with plus 300 bonus health baseline to their original HP values and plus 75 shield value. So alongside that, we really want to make your health regeneration or your health as like a resource as you're fighting through this, as we are looking
Ouais,
at this
joli
as a
là.
very rogue-light experience, and we need resources to contend with to make
Très très joli.
get that
Elle a l'air
rogue-light emphasis
elle a
on
l'air
light there,
presta.
of course, because this is still
Mais
a very uniquely Destiny experience.
C'est une batteuse.
And we have a lot of things contributing that as well. So we do have
C'est
ammo
totalement une
scarcity
batteuse. C'est
as
maître
well,
du
so
tonnerre.
players won't be getting as much ammo, but there will be ways and
Ouh,
avenues
chargé
to
vite.
get health and ammo drops in the activity, as well as boons that will improve your power over
En
time
fait c'est
as
juste
you
un skin
engage
de
with the
maître du
activity.
tonnerre, c'est.
That
Je rigole.
progressive sort of idea of like power and building up how strong you
Oh,
are
paracausal si fou.
through the Nether, that roguelite experience. It's also reflective of that narrative of like building
Non, je pense
yourself
que c'est une nouvelle, hein,
up,
en vrai,
pushing
cette
deeper
batteuse.
into the Dreadnought. The Dreadnought is resisting you. It's trying to make sure you can't like move towards the Echo and figure out what's going on. And this is you
J'ai envie de game.
finding ways to like pierce the veil and move beyond their barriers.
Yeah, new foes and new challenges obviously warrant new strategies along the way as well.
Absolutely.
And then you saying like ammo and health is kind of like a resource, so it's you're not seeing it drop off of enemies and stuff like that, but there are things that you can find like a resource and collect and all that.
Yeah, so we have destination materials. We have urns and pots kind of placed around everywhere, and also destination chests that players can find. And when you break these destructible
C'est toi
pots,
ça, à l'écran, je
they'll
reconnais.
explode into like a rain of health, ammo, heavy ammo, sometimes boons,
L'arc
sometimes
cryo.
revive tokens. I forgot to mention we are using revive tokens here as a resource as well. So you really need to manage, but like there are avenues to get more revive tokens. There is more avenues to get health and ammo. So we really want players to explore the Dreadnought and encourage that exploration by looking for these urns, looking for the chests, and like searching for those boons, because there's multiple avenues and like ways for players to search out and go get them.
Yeah, and I mean that resource scarcity is really going to make you want to chase those down, and I can imagine that health is a sight for sore eyes.
Absolutely.
To that end as well, actually, you know, obviously you mentioned we're back at the Dreadnought, but I can't imagine it's the exact same one. Can you tell us a little bit about how the Dreadnought has changed?
Yeah, so since the Echo has hit the Dreadnought, a lot of the spaces have changed and like modified. A lot of the skin,
Trop beau
of the
le
Dreadnought ship
skybox,
has like peeled back, revealing bone and chitin, and showing off new secrets, new pathways. So
Les
you are in
pouvoirs,
familiar spaces if you
corrompus
played
ont
the
l'air cool,
Dreadnought
hein.
before, but there is a lot of new, interesting, unique pathways.
Ouais,
Things
hein.
have changed. Things have become abnormally different. Oh,
yeah. There goes our fire team.
And that's the last we ever saw of that guardian ever again. As mysteriously as they arrived, they were gone.
Yeah. And we've kind of like, for players who are wanting that explorative aspect, right? We've kind of like separated out the modes a little bit, so people can go in and they can explore the Dreadnought, but people who are like, looking to just bust through the activity and get loot, they have a different match-made mode, right?
Absolutely. So the Nether has currently 3 modes. So there's the Nether Exploration for those solo type experiences, but they can bring their fire team in as well if they'd like to.
En vrai, c'est cool d'être sur le
And this is
cuirassé
more
déjà.
like that patrol-esque experience that you're looking for. I want to explore at my own like pace. I want to look for secrets. I want to just engage with the space like it was a patrol space back in the day.
Yeah.
It still is
Je
the
m'attendais
Nether
à
experience
rien
of where you're going from.
au vu
You're
des
playing through the 3
épisodes
bubbles and there's
précédents,
escalating
mais
difficulty. But we do
continue de me dire
grant
que ça
you
peut être
in that
bien.
mode a multitude of revives. So you have a way larger pool
Ne
of
serait-ce qu'à
revives, so you
cause
can
du
make
cadre.
mistakes.
Sure.
It's just for those players who want to like explore at their own whim.
Et ce qu'ils
play
ont
at
dit
their
par
own
rapport
pace.
à
And then
au fait
additionally,
de
there's
retirer le
also
côté
damage
aller-retour.
modifiers for those players when they're engaging with bosses as a solo player, so they can
Apporter de
actually
la variété.
tackle those
On
hurdles
verra,
as they
hein.
come,
Nice.
and also some modifiers on like how many enemies are spawning, so they don't need to like get swarmed by every single enemy in the world.
You can really take in
J'espère
the
qu'il y aura des
skybox for a
secrets.
little while and hang out with your buddies.
Il faut des
And then
secrets. Si on est
additionally,
sur le
if
cuirassé,
you
il faut
do
des
get
secrets.
lost, because this is, we didn't want to overclutter the spaces with objectives, because there is a lot of things to do, and there's a lot of different things to do in every single bubble and location that you go to in the Dreadnought. If you do get lost, you just pop open your ghost, and there'll be a bunch of star objective icons that'll like let you know where you should be looking and where you should be going for the next spot. Additionally, talking back to those different modes, we do have the match-made mode on advanced baseline difficulty, and then we do have expert as well.
Very cool. Okay, so plenty of challenges for the Guardians that want to
Il va y en avoir
undertake
beaucoup de
those,
mobs.
make sure
Il
they're
peut
pushing
jouer
out themselves, but the opportunity to
quasi
get
tout le
loot
temps en
as far as they
batteuse.
possibly can.
Absolutely.
Il
And
va
on
prendre
that loot note as
de
well,
mine.
every time you complete a bubble, there is a chest checkpoint, so you do get loot checkpoints essentially. And like the average runtime for like a bubble is 8 to 12 minutes, but you do get the most loot by completing the entire activity as a whole.
Got it.
But there are checkpoints for players who just want to jump in for like 8 to 12 minutes, hit that loot checkpoint, like okay, I'm out for now, or players who want to just like rush through it and get all
J'ai l'impression qu'il n'y a pas
the
assez
loot,
d'action
so
pour
end up
3
every single
joueurs.
bubble
Je
check.
sais pas si vous voyez ce que je veux dire.
Okay. All right, and then also, I think, you know, in addition to the modifiers we're talking about, the Boon system is one that I heard you mention a little bit earlier. I'd love to actually kick off the conversation about that. I think we maybe saw the folks in chat that were eagle-eyed that were keeping an eye on the modifiers, may have
On
seen
peut voir
something a
avec
little
la
bit earlier
difficulté.
before. But can you tell us a little bit about the Boon system?
Yeah, so the boons here are, we have a multitude of boons. We have minor boons,
Il y a encore
major
des
boons, and
trucs de
corrupted
potions.
boons. So minor boons
C'est
are
vite de mobs.
minor
Ouais, c'est ça,
stat
je
increases
ressens
that
cela.
are, pretty much just increase your power and incrementally stack. They can stack up to 10.
Peut-être moi, hein.
And they're just like the typical like increased light damage, increased darkness damage, movement speed on kills. Some are like based on health and regenerate health and are typical like mobility increases, but like things that'll make you stronger over time and allow you to tackle the more difficult bubbles as you approach them.
Yeah.
And then additionally
Après,
we have major
la
boons.
difficulté, il a dit,
And
il y a
then from
d'autres
there,
difficultés. Donc,
They're like actually like more larger gameplay modifiers that actually affect your abilities and your actions.
donc faut voir
Of
quoi.
course now. We do have Eric.
That's right. Yes, actually. So anyone at home that may have noticed, our good friend Nico, please give him a shout out in chat and let him know that you love him, has stepped out of the scene for just a moment, and we are now joined by gameplay feature lead Eric Smith. Eric, how's it going, man?
It's going well. How are you?
So for any, doing well, thank you. You guys are all so nice today. I'm so taken aback. For anyone that may not have seen you in the Vidocs or anything like that, can you tell us just a little bit about who you are, what you do here at Bungie as a gameplay feature lead?
J'aimerais qu'il y ait
Yeah,
un
sure
nom.
thing. So I'm Eric Smith, gameplay feature lead on Destiny 2. So I help create the game's abilities, kind of anything the player can do, you know, the game feel of the game, build crafting, kind of general sandbox stuff, and kind of make the controller disappear into your hands while you're playing.
Yeah, the many tools we use, you're helping go ahead and make sure that they're all available for us.
For the mouse and keyboard as well.
Right, those two.
I'm just sitting there tapping on an empty desk, but that's how my Trials teammates feel. So, you know, we're talking about the Boon system. You obviously had a big hand in this as well, rather. Can you tell us a little bit about, you know, what this system is for and maybe about the boons the players are going to have
Vous
available?
entendez bien?
Yeah, so
Un peu
there are a
fort.
bunch of boons available. there are the minor boons that you mentioned, and then there's the major boons. So the major boons are more gameplay affecting, and they will do things like, kind of like we saw in the Pale Heart with the Traveler's Blessings, right? Where you pick something up and it kind of gives you a new ability almost. One of those in
Sauf que sur le cœur pâle, on les utilise pas ces trucs.
solar slide, where you run and slide, and a solar wave would go out and blow things up.
Yeah.
Je pense que c'est moins qui soit pas mal les pouvoirs dont tu parles
We
là.
have solar slide as well, but we also have stasis slide, where you run and you slide, and a big stasis wave comes out, makes crystals and freezes things, and you can blow them up yourself. And there's stuff
Parce que si on a beaucoup de
that's gonna
pouvoirs
allow you to
et
heal
plein
more
d'enchaînements de salles,
effectively. There's,
ça fait un côté
looks
roguelike
like
qui peut être
this one's
sympa.
interesting. Reduces damage per piece of episodic armor worn.
Mais genre pas juste 3
It's
up
quite
et c'est
significant
finito.
boost as well.
Yeah.
Pas façon truc des
So
profondeurs.
there's a bunch, and then finally we have the kind of kiss curse boons, as
Yes.
we call them, but they have an official name. What was that?
The corrupted boons. And
So here we go. We're looking at one right now.
yeah, so these corrupted boons are on offering, are offered at the same time as major boons, as players can only obtain 5 to 6 major
Vous
boons
avez vu, il y a
corrupted boons per
un
run
avantage et
through.
un inconvénient à
Those
chaque
are
truc.
granted to players once randomly at one of the 3 encounters inside of the bubble, and then again
l'autre.
at the end of the bubble once they complete it. And
Non,
there's
pas
some
l'autre.
ritual loop stuff too that will allow them to get another one at the start of a bubble or the start of a run through. But these Kiss Curse or corrupted boons, as we call them, essentially give you a great bonus or increase to a specific thing at the cost of a major negative. So one, for example, here that I'm really fond of is Glass Cannon, which increases all damage massively, while also increasing all the damage you take.
Yeah.
So-
Which is also, that's the dev name internally,
Je
isn't
surtout
it?
134
yeah.
d'Argenton.
So if you don't find one specifically named Glass Cannon, we are obviously, we hang out in our own Word docs and Excel sheets quite a bit. So, yeah,
That's true. And that one
Ici,
is
c'est plus
interesting.
sympa,
It's an
là.
interesting choice that you can make.
Là, c'est pas mal. Là, il y a de
kinda
l'action.
The risk to reward ratio, right? Because you have non-regenerating health in here, you really have to come at each encounter with that kind of mindset of health.
Ouais, c'est pour ça qu'il a cette batteuse là qui soigne aussi. Parce que donc on regagne pas sa vie dans ce mode. Hein.
It has the potential to stick with me unless I can find a healing source.
Yeah, really got the fire team option too, where it's like every time you're offered those major boons, your teammates can also choose different ones. So it's like, oh hey, 2 of us are going to do that glass cannon, or external.
Yeah.
And then another person is going to do, oh hey, every time I do a finisher, things are volatile around me and I get my grenade back. So I can spam more of those, keep you a bit safer when you get swarmed by things.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And it's also good to know on the health regeneration aspect, the gameplay and sandbox team has tuned a lot of the abilities and weapons that do heal players, so they're not extremely overpowered. So there's been a wide tuning pass on all of this entirely. So you're gonna see when you're trying to heal up your teammate with one of our new support auto rifles. It's gonna take some time, but it does work and it is very efficient and very helpful, especially the abilities. So you're definitely going to want to spec into healing builds.
Oh, man.
Ouais, c'est ça la question, Podo, on est d'accord.
Season of the Deep, we were going deep into
Ça dépendra de la
the
variété.
oceans of Titan, and now it
Toujours,
feels
hein.
like we're going deep into space, and like the pressure, you can feel it, tentacles taking energy, like
T'as vu
they
ça?
knocked out of the park with the vibe here. I'm
Pour la
feeling
question
a
de la
little
redondance.
claustrophobic, but also like,
Just getting
you feel it.
pulled deeper into the labyrinth, right?
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in addition to, there's obviously modifiers you're going to be facing as a Guardian, as a fire team. There'll be boons available to you, but this episode as well is going to bring with it a bevy of new gear between both armor and weapons. Now, obviously, for the Keen-Eyed Guardians in chat who are watching, there's obviously some seasonal armor, some episodic armor sets that we have here that you can go ahead and check out firsthand. But I think kind of in the spirit of this activity and build crafting, let's talk about some of the weapons, actually. There's one here on screen, obviously. This is our new support frame auto rifle. Given that health is such a precious resource in this activity, Eric, can you tell us a little bit about this one?
Yeah, so this is Adamantite. This is our new strand support auto. And it has some
Pourquoi j'ai dit que
really
c'était une
unique
batteuse?
features. One of those
C'est pas une
is that
batteuse?
when I
Non, mais c'est
heal
pas le même.
enemies,
Ok,
so
j'étais en mode
these
c'est-
support autos, there's 2 of them in the game.
C'est le fusil auto là.
When I hip fire at an ally, it'll send out
C'est
kind of healing
bizarre,
rounds.
changer la
And
batteuse.
then if I need to, shoot an enemy right next to
C'est bon.
that,
Il a le
ally,
fusil
I
auto
can
et
just
la
ADS,
batteuse.
go full offense, right?
Je l'ai pas vu switch de Ok.
The healing from this, because
Ils ont
it's
le
shooting
même
out
design
strand rounds,
exactement.
if you heal an ally repeatedly, it'll actually cause them to sprout little unravel seeds, which kind of turns them into this like short-term, you know.
Il a l'air pas mal, en tout cas, le
Throw
niveau
your friend as a
physique pour
grenade
là.
into the fight, right?
Cover him
seriously.
until I
Et il est
stumble,
flip
put him
obscur.
in, but now it's like, oh hey, I'm healing you and making you.
Let your hunter friend with the Caliban Slayer's handshake roll run in there and just keep him
Ma
alive.
foi,
right?
ça.
And that's why I'm so excited about this activity because, like, you know, we've kind of introduced all these kind of healing things, but in a lot of the game, like, I can just hide behind a box and heal, right? And here you can see our health isn't regenerating. So we need to really think about
Ouais, ça donne un
maybe there's a
intérêt à
dedicated
un
healer
truc pour heal.
on your team. Maybe there's multiple allies using healing rounds, right?
Yeah, honestly, that build crafting is kind of transcending now beyond yourself, just to like per activity, per fire team, whatever you've got. So this one's obviously going to be a ton of fun, but that is far from the only weapon that's being added around. As far as the episodic
sa mini
weapons, are there
batteuse.
any others in particular you
C'est
want
pour
to
ça que tout à
call
l'heure
out?
je me disais là, tout en
There
début,
are.
c'est
I
fou.
do actually want to talk about this one with one more thing.
Oh,
So
please.
this weapon can roll Slice and Tear, which are two perks that
Donc il peut avoir tranchage.
sever enemies.
Yeah.
It's not often we get a you know, primary legendary weapon that
Et donc le
can
truc
debuff in multiple ways.
Yeah.
And that's going to play into things like the artifact this
Juste à côté.
season, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Oh yeah, we'll get there.
So there's Adamantite, which is a really solid weapon. And then let's look at Psychopomp.
Bien.
So Psychopomp is
beau
our
et efficace.
new area denial grenade launcher.
Such a good name.
I love it, yeah.
It's just Psychopomp.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So Psychopomp, so these area denial grenade launchers, the fantasy of these things is like a flamethrower, right? We don't have flamethrowers in the game, but this is as close as you can get to a flamethrower. So I imagine I'm using one every time I use this thing.
I'm going to now.
This thing has a really cool new perk on it that keys into our new arc keyword bolt charge, which we'll also talk about in a bit. And also it works with Amplified as well. So this thing, if you are arc build crafted this season and arc has received a ton of
Moi,
love,
je crie, hein.
this thing is going to absolutely slay out.
Yeah, it's one we'll definitely get to see our fire team put it to good use here. But as someone who's been building area denial grenade launchers into my loadout, I can't wait. Honestly, the second I learned this was on the docket, I was so excited.
The folks that have been working on these weapons too,
Yeah.
like the general look of them, it goes along with what you were saying of, oh hey, the dreadnought's kind of peeling back. If you look at the weapon,
elles
you
sont
can see like,
stylées.
oh my gosh,
Yeah.
there's
Et elles ont
like
l'air
the bone,
cool à
there's like
jouer.
the bone. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, Dylan, while I've got you, also the previous one on Adamantite, that one was an adept weapon.
Yeah.
Pour le
let
coup,
me
on
pull
retrouve
out
des
my
trucs qu'on a
handy
aimés sur des
There we go.
précédentes armes.
Oh, here's the meme.
Screen cap. Yeah.
But yeah, you can notice that for this go of our episodic weapons, you can earn adept weapons, and these are we're considering or calling them our heretical arsenal.
Got it.
Heresy, heretical.
Oh,
Like we're
nice.
going deep into this
Not
theme.
theoretical, it's heretical. Love it.
You can see that it has a new
Une
treat or a
quarante
different
de
treatment to the colors. It's kind of like the holofoils from Into the Light.
Okay, yeah.
Not so much exactly that of,
Par
hey, it's
principe,
an
jusqu'à
ornament, but
2025.
like this has the base die and all that, and it looks really good. Shout out to the team. But you can also notice there are multiple perks in each column. There's actually an extra origin trait as well. Shout out Taken King, all that kind of stuff from a raid near you.
Non, bien aussi, c'est très là.
But there's a very interesting ways of earning these weapons. So you're going to be going into these activities, upping that difficulty. You're going to be exploring the dreadnought and looking for these.
Si
As well
c'est
with
très
the,
lent, tombe sur la
with the
batteuse, par
episodic
exemple.
weapons, there are going to be new fragile mods. So they're called fragile because these will be expiring at the close of the episode.
Okay.
But they're
Je
going
sais
to
pas
give
si vous arrivez à
you
lire.
pretty insane bonuses to your outgoing power. So not necessarily the power of the weapon, but the actual like versatility of it.
Yeah.
One of these
cherche
have
le
the
chargeur.
power of resolve, rapid hits.
Tornado.
They create taken seekers. They're
Proche des
really good
alliés.
against champs.
Yeah.
So that's an example. There are going to be a couple at launch and then more coming with each act.
Yeah.
But these will be great in Nightfalls. Will be great
joli
in
memento.
higher content.
Champions in shambles.
Yeah.
On
And
l'a,
then
ce
for
memento
when you're
là?
going in and earning these weapons, there was a ton of feedback, and we absolutely heard you. We're listening about the tonic system. So there are things with like the user experience was a bit rough of having to go back in, create more tonics, trigger them in the middle of activities because they were running out.
Yeah.
The team really took that to heart. They want to make sure that there's agency in how you're earning these weapons. So they're going to be making it through the Tome of Want.
Vous avez vu?
You can kind of target
Le
these
memento, il a
weapons.
été,
You don't need to go in and do this a ton of times. You can say, hey, I want to go for this auto rifle. I want
La
to go
date,
for
elle
this
n'existe pas.
grenade launcher, linear fusion
9
rifle. And I
février
really want to be
2025.
going for that to try to get these
Si on lit en anglais.
Yeah.
So effectively, like, I don't want to say more loot because it's not going to be like, oh, hey, you're getting 10 times more.
Yeah.
But it's going to feel like, oh, hey, I have a goal of getting this loot, and now I'm going to go and play the game and get what I'm looking for.
Definitely. No, it's super exciting, honestly. Just having those more opportunities to just, you know, break your loadouts out a little bit, find new ways to go ahead and really excel, especially given the challenges we're going to be going up against on the Dreadnought.
And with the fragile mods, like, it's baking into that exploration. Like you were saying, how do you find them again?
Yeah, so they can be found through secrets and chests found in the Nether. They're spread out. They're hidden pretty well, but I imagine folks will find them over time or through some YouTube videos.
But Rick Cack is here.
We're going to wait for... we won't miss
Ah oui,
this
c'est
time.
celui
Fallout,
du
obviously,
dernier
if you could
rêve.
make some guides for us, we'd
Tout à
greatly
fait.
appreciate it.
Memento monolithique.
Iswerg, obviously, yes.
Yeah.
One of the best communities out there.
Let's see, anything else? Yeah, I mean, the last keyword I want to throw on there is aspirational.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we want to have tools that players want to go and find, want to earn, and increase their power.
Yeah. So we've got a couple more weapons I definitely want to talk about because we're reprising some as well.
Bien
But we
galère
have
à
a brief
choper.
reprieve from combat. I'd love to actually go ahead. I know you mentioned earlier aspects, Eric.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and take a look really quickly.
C'est bien galère.
We got
Pas
our
le plus
friendly
simple.
neighborhood Warlock here up first. Can you tell us about the new aspects the Guardians are going to have this time around?
Absolutely. So the Warlock has a new aspect called Ionic Sentry. And Ionic Sentry, when you defeat targets with kinetic or arc weapons or arc abilities, you kind of
Elle avait l'air
charge this thing
vénère, la
that you see
tourelle, là.
in
Ça me donne envie de jouer Arca, c'est
little
terrible.
gauge on your screen. Much like Gunpowder Gamble, if you're familiar with that.
Absolutely.
When that's full, it grants you a bonus grenade that you can then throw out. On impact, it blinds anything nearby and then spawns this like little arc turret, right? That zaps things, chains to
Franchement, elle est
different
vénère, la
things.
tourelle.
And every time it zaps something, it accumulates a stack of bolt
Ça se
charge.
voyait.
So bolt charge is our new arc keyword. And what this
Faut que
does
faut avoir un mode
is when you have a
difficile,
stack
hein.
of bolt charge,
Mais-
any damage you do, it's going to give you additional stacks.
Okay.
Once you hit 10 stacks, your next ability damage is going to create this giant lightning bolt that comes out of nowhere, hits the ground, and just like fries everything.
Ouais, full cryo.
So what Ionic Sentry can do is not only generate the stacks, but because it is ability damage in itself,
Bon, cet aspect-là, il est stylé.
expend
Hein.
the stacks.
Yeah.
So you send this thing out and it is doing work.
Mettez-moi un
throwing a
truc
meat
cool aussi
grinder
sur
at
le
it.
titan.
An arc-flavored meat
Essentially.
grinder.
Yeah.
Had anyone foolish enough to cross it. But also, I mean, given that's going to be using the new keyword as well, like it's not just going to be for mobs of trash. It's like you can throw this down against the big bosses and obviously have it blind them and do all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, this is great against bosses because any healthy targets, it's going to be continually zapping them, granting you those stacks, and then discharging the stacks as well.
Yeah. All right.
It's like an offensive version of the stasis Warlock turret too. So it's like, let's say you stack them and you're going into onslaught, so you have your freeze. It's like, I need these enemies to leave me alone.
Putain, mais
You
mon
come in and
Arca,
you're
il a la
like,
ramasse.
it's time to, we're going to boil
pas
them,
fini,
mash them, stick them in a stew,
Vampina.
man. They're gone.
Sure, but it also, if you are in trouble, kind of like the stasis thing, like let's hit the pause button. The blinding aspect of this, I can just kind of throw it out and smoke bomb and hide, right?
Je vais rester sur le titan.
All right, so Warlocks obviously have a brand new tool to add to their toolbox, but the other classes do as well. Which one should we show them next?
Let's stick with the arc thing. So let's go to Titan.
Oui.
So
Alors,
Titan, we have Storm's Keep. In this is like a barricade modification. So any barricade you drop, it's going to kind of be electrified. And standing behind this electrified is going to passively accumulate bolt charge on you.
Yeah.
So I drop this on the ground. I start shooting enemies from behind my barricade.
ok, il a le même délire en fait. Ça refait le truc de l'éclair et tout. Mais avec la barricade.
The barricade you can shoot through.
Oh, yeah.
And that is going to be kind of building those stacks up and discharging them as I'm firing my weapon.
Okay.
Like I said, bolt charge is usually only ability damage that discharges it.
Yeah.
But as long as I'm standing behind Storm's Keep, my weapon damage is going to discharge it as well.
Got it.
So it kind of turns any weapon you want into like a quasi Thunderlord.
Not necessarily an arc weapon then in this case.
Correct,
It's
yeah.
Exciting. Okay.
Yeah. So this one's spicy. I think we're going to see this in a lot of damage phases, and we
Faut mettre le petit mur.
can play this all we want.
There's a lot of theoreticals we can dive into, right? Yeah, totally.
In dev, and then we drop it into the world,
Putain,
and
c'est bruit, ce machin
we'll
avec.
see how we need to tune this thing. Maybe it's up, maybe it's down, but we want it to be powerful, and I think it is powerful.
There's a lot of, like, players saw this preview in the TWID. think it was last week, and they immediately noticed the animation for the Titan was changed, right? So when you went down to put down the barricade, it was like this big thunderclap, like, hey, I'm going to charge everybody up, right?
Yeah, and the animation went through a lot of different kind of versions. You know, we put so much love into all of these abilities because, you know, it's in the game forever. And we want it to be right. So,
c'est référence à Kingdom Come, faire le linge.
And like raises, and you know, we ended up with a thunderclap, and our animators are
fait le linge,
absolutely incredible at their jobs.
Yeah.
Ça
so,
finit
but then
tout nu.
it's animation. It's like the VFX artists have to time everything to the animation, and then the sound design people have to time it to that, and then
J'ai pas regardé la weekly
sure
de jeudi.
It's like so much work goes into even, you know, one aspect like this, and we're really excited to put it in players' hands.
Yeah, it's a coalescence of art and science that you guys do that consistently blows my mind. But now we've got obviously one more for our friendly neighborhood hunters like myself.
Yeah.
As well.
Best for last.
This one will be able to get you out of sticky situations as well. So
Ah, lui, c'est sur la missile, du coup.
Arcstrider already has for arc aspects, but they needed one in their void slot. So we gave Night Stalker on the prowl, and shout out to the boy Danny Nanny, who is the designer for this one.
Yeah.
So on the prowl, you kind of become a hit person.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. And you whenever you go invisible, like you get a contract to kill something in the area.
Yeah.
And that thing is marked, and a little, you know, a
Donc
target
il
shows
marque
up
une
on them for you
cible.
and your
Si cette
allies.
cible est tuée,
If
ça
you
fait un nuage
successfully
qui rend
complete that
invisible.
contract and whack that jabroni, right?
Quand on passe
you,
dedans.
Sorry, jabroni.
No, excellent use of jabroni. Yeah.
Thank you. So
it's canon now, everyone.
So I whack a jabroni,
Et on a
and
une
then,
vitesse de recharge améliorée, stabilité
what
améliorée.
happens is my entire team gets some energy, right? And
Et
this
de
is kind
l'énergie
of a
de grenade de
callback
mêlée
to Heart
et
of the
de
Pack,
classe.
from the old Night Stalker. It originally was actually a callback where we gave you stats,
Après,
but
ça peut
then
être utile quand même en phase.
you know, we're working the stats.
Et si on est sur un boss, faut qu'il y ait des adds, quoi.
We decided to just give you ability energy, right? Yeah. So ability energy, and then the victim,
Ah,
if
par contre, ça
successfully
fait
executed,
affaiblissement.
explodes into a cloud of smoke, which I can then enter to become invisible again, thereby marking a new
faire un
target.
petit mob,
So
puis
I
le
can kind
boss.
of chain these like assassinations as I move throughout a strike or something, and my entire team can be advantaged by that.
Oh, nice. So you can bring your fire team through the same cloud of smoke.
Same cloud of smoke. Everyone goes invisible. So yeah, you're kind of
all
sneaking.
spicy, man.
It's on the prowl. We're prowling through the activity.
You can already see like one of the exotic pairings on the screen too. Those creepy eyes freak me out every time. But Omnioculus, like that's going to benefit the smoke and all that kind of stuff.
Les yeux sur
pair
son
with
bide.
Lawrence Driver. Sorry, Ritz on social media asking for some gameplay today, but we have too much to go through.
Yeah.
But it's like you're embodying that I'm a bounty hunter fantasy. So your gun can be giving you bounties through Lawrence Driver. You're getting bounties through this. There's going to be a lot of combinations in build crafting.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned too, Guizen, right?
Yeah. Guizen. I always call it Guizen, but Guizen Vest got a rework. So when you exit invisibility, it emits a weakening cloud of smoke, and then some super energy perks as well. So
nice.
There's going to be a lot of strong pairings, and then with the artifact, Void features in the artifact pretty heavily too.
You know what? Honestly, you just gave me the best segue I could possibly imagine. We have looked, obviously, we've begun to scratch the surface of some of the new build crafting opportunities y'all are going to have, but obviously we got a new artifact as well this episode. We've got the Tablet of Ruin, which seemed aptly named. Now, just as a starting point, can you let us know the general theme of this one?
Yeah. So the theme of this episode's artifact is kind of subjugation and bending enemies to your will.
Yeah.
Essentially, as we are going back into the Dreadnought, it was unlikely that the Dread or the Hive were going to come peacefully, so we got to bring the big guns to force their hand.
Absolutely.
Essentially.
Yeah. It's not about us winning; it's about them losing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the Tablet of Ruin is there to ruin their day, essentially.
Le truc sur les batteuses.
Yeah, so I'll call out some highlights of mine from here. If we look at column 5,
Peut-être que le maître du tonnerre va revenir sur le devant de la scène.
Right to the chase.
We have Void. Which one is it? It's called Void Flux. That's it. Void Flux. So defeating weakened targets with a Void weapon
ça dépend si tu
applies
prends
volatile to nearby targets,
le
and then you
pistolet
pair
de
that
ruine.
with the column 4 Maligned
En vrai.
Harvest and rapidly applying volatile causes your next instance of void weapon damage to weaken, which then feeds back into the other one. And it's like, if you can get this this engine going, you know, in a crowded room, it's nasty.
Me and my fellow Fighting Lion addicts are going to have a really good time with this one. I can already tell. The Fighting Lion subreddit, I want to see some clips.
And then I also want to call out Horde Shuttle in here.
Please.
So Horde Shuttle damaging
Ouais,
unraveled
pour rester dans le
targets
thème,
with
c'est
a weapon
bien.
occasionally spawns
Voilà,
a Dread
du
Link.
griot.
This is really good for your strand builds, especially against high health targets. Because I unravel them, they stay unraveled. I keep shooting them, they're just popping threadlings out, left and right. And then, because we talked about arc, flashover in column 4, when you gain a maximum stat or bolt charge, you also become amplified. Amplified is getting a big kind of buff this this episode as well. To its survivability.
Un
So
petit,
really, arc in general is
fusil auto
it's hot.
principal.
It's hot.
Yeah. It's got to be some spicy arc builds.
Bon terreau de vable en secondaire.
That's end too. Dylan, can you walk us through some of the stuff in
Le
the
fusil
first
auto
column
qui
as well? We're
soigne,
gonna
hein.
Oh yeah.
some new,
Bon terreau de vable en secondaire.
champion mods to
Et
pick
soit
out.
Yeah,
donc
so
la
I
nouvelle
mean, like,
batteuse,
there's all
soit
these,
maître du tonnerre.
really ability-focused items, which is great because
Oh,
there are a bunch
vrai?
of anti-champion keywords in there as well.
Yeah.
Ah oui, mais il y a
So
le
let's
nouveau
say,
lance-greux.
hey, we're going in, we're doing a Nightfall. You can see actually there's anti-barrier sidearm for the
Il est en
first time
secondaire,
in years.
enfin en second
I think that
emplacement,
was
le
around
lance-greux,
for
je
one of the
crois.
first Grandmaster rotations, and it was like, what sidearm?
Right. Dust
Now
off
we-
the call. Let's
Now we
do
have
it.
rocket sidearms, we have Forerunner, so you can be like popping the shields, throwing the grenades, that kind
Totally.
of stuff. Anti-barrier sniper, that was a favorite from the past. We just did a big rework on glaives. The team did a crack job
Ouais.
on there, so unstoppable there. And then up at the top, you can see machine guns, and then linear fusion rifles and fusion rifles are getting the unstoppable. And then in fifth column, you'll see a perk that players may enjoy of particle
It's back.
reconstruction.
I'm so excited. I mean, I just got my hands on the Vex Mythic Last finally. Thank you, Malachi. After all this time, honestly. So I have a hunch I'm going to be putting those in the main rotation pretty quickly as
You
well.
don't have Vex yet?
Oh yeah.
Alors du coup, on va devoir jouer au linéaire.
I don't know if I have a
Ça change
I
nos
didn't even
plans.
get it in D1, so it was like such a moment for me. It was like a decade of
Well,
waiting, right? Yeah.
I think there's a reason to go back into Vault of Glass. I mean, we can help him get his.
I'm down. I
That's a
played.
good point.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like some raids I have played 5 times and have like 5 of the raid exotic, right? And others.
Oh,
I've played
you're the guy where
20
you get it
times.
on the first run.
I
mean, that's
usually am,
what?
but not with Vault for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah,
But-
Matt Noguchi out there, you. Oh,
Feast or famine, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So go
Parce
back
que
to
là,
what
ça
you were saying.
c'est
Vault
c'est
of
quand même
Glass.
fort. Hein.
So there are a bunch of folks where, yeah, they want crafting back. They want to do
Attends,
something
je
where they
veux
have an
dire.
end goal. And Vault of Glass is a great opportunity for us to say, hey, you've been going through Heresy content. You want to do some raids. You want to do something else. Like, yeah, we're adding weapons to Strikes, Gambit, Crucible. We have a bunch of new weapons and trials, a new armor set and trials that you've seen in some of these previews.
Yeah.
But Vault of Glass is getting crafting.
Yes.
Chat goes wild.
Yeah.
You can go get that Fatebringer, get it a couple times as a deep sight, craft it, and then you can make that roll that you've always wanted.
Yep. Yeah.
As you're going through
En vrai, on va
Vault,
jouer l'arme
let's say you
du
want to go
raid.
through and craft like 5 of the weapons that are available.
Le linéaire en
Then you can hop
principal.
into Master with all your spoils
En
and
vrai.
going for those Adept versions, and those have a chance to drop with multiple or more perks in those columns. We've been doing this for the last few raids with craftable weapons,
Yeah.
but now it's like, hey, I want my Heaves and
Euphonie.
Vengeance.
C'est comme ça qu'il
There's a
s'appelle?
new intrinsic perk. What's the origin trait?
Yes. Yeah.
And then, yeah, let's say I'm trying to go for
J'ai envie
a
d'essayer.
combination. I could get 3 on this, and then I can enhance it, make it this crazy rocket launcher that's good, and go into endgame and do some really cool stuff.
Yep. Yeah. So we've obviously we've got another weapons. I know I mentioned some reprised ones, but actually, as long as we're hanging out here in the menus, Eric, I'd actually love to put you on the spot again and talk about just some of the exotics that
accent
players are
aigu
going to be able to go ahead and
porte-Nawak,
acquire this episode as well.
mot.
Let's start wherever you'd like to.
Pas
Which
ouvert.
one would you like to kick it off with?
Let's look at Barrow Dyad.
Barrow Dyad. I was hoping you'd say that.
So Barrow Dyad is
Qu'est-ce que c'est que ça?
Is that a gun?
Is that a gun?
Is that actually a gun?
it's hybrid gun for his sort of.
Our team does not mess around, man. That's so cool. Yeah.
So this thing is a strand submachine gun, and it is also a monster in combat. So this thing, as I deal damage with it, it generates this resource called Blight. And next time I reload, whether it's manual or I just run out of my mag, it's going to convert that
Son
Blight into
fonctionnement me
these
fatigue
strand
d'avance, par
seekers
contre.
that next time I pull the
C'est
trigger,
genre,
it's going to fire those out.
tu
and they're
génères
gonna
des
bounce
trucs.
between enemies.
Et ensuite, la
Here we
prochaine
go. Yep.
fois
So
que...
we got some gameplay of this
gna,
right now, actually.
Yes. So, but you can also see it.
Just juking everything.
The Grim is a paid actor,
Everything.
obviously.
Tonight is snow.
You can also see that this thing auto reloads over time. So this thing, rumor is it's partially sentient.
Yeah.
It has its own wants and needs.
Après, le fait que ça s'auto-reload, c'est
And
agréable.
and if you satisfy it, it's going to reward you.
Yeah.
So look how fast that ammo comes back. So what you can actually do is play this mini game where you are, trying to shoot enemies to build up that blight. And then you can pace yourself to auto reload to build up more blight, and then manually reload to load all those seekers into your mag. In addition, it has this perk where dealing damage to 3 different enemies generates in a short period of time. Generates a large amount of blight.
Very nice.
So,
Okay.
Ouais,
So
après.
equal opportunities to go ahead and clear out crowds, but also to just
En vrai,
burn down the big
son
bad
main
by
truc,
just
c'est
getting
quand même
away,
cette
or
histoire de
whichever one's
reload
foolish
auto.
enough to do so.
So there are going to be player questions immediately of when you're talking about blight and those sorts of keywords, is this a weapon of sorrow?
That's a great question. It is not a weapon of sorrow, but I heard another rumor.
La personne qui joue, on dirait que c'est pas son périphérique de contrôle habituel.
To a weapon of sorrow.
Interesting.
But I can't.
Ou du moins pas sa sensi.
Redacted.
This, one of our top 3 favorite words, redacted. Okay, so this is the one, and we won't spoil how, but players will be earning.
Faut changer la
this one
sensi, là.
this season.
C'est
It'll
quelque
have,
chose.
catalysts and other intrinsics to earn as well, I assume.
This thing has a lot of surprises. I don't
Pourtant,
know.
c'est pas le meilleur aim de la Terre,
leave it
mais...
there. Let's just leave it.
I like that. Okay. All right. So
Ça se
obviously,
voit trop.
the Barodyad will be one that will be getting added to a lot of loadouts across the entire Soul system. But that's not the only one we're going to be taking a look at today.
Yeah, let's also look at our new exotic trace rifle Lodestar.
Here we
so
go.
this one will be given to players via the season pass. This is the first primary ammo trace rifle ever.
Il est beau.
So cool.
And
So excited.
C'est vrai, mais quand ton curseur il
in
dépasse,
Hipfire, this thing behaves
ça,
like a the
c'est que
trace
ta
rifle
sensi est
you know
pas,
and
est pas
love.
adaptée.
But when you ADS with it, it's closer to a pulse rifle, actually.
Okay.
When you ADS, your standard pulse rifle has this kind of cadence.
savez quoi,
where it's
mon hype sur l'épisode?
There's
Yeah.
like these kind of
Comment ça,
spaces
moi je
in
croyais qu'on allait
between
conduire des
the rounds.
voitures et
But this
taper des
thing is
mamies.
more, the steady, EDM
Tu me
beat.
dis-
Yeah. So players are seeing it now. Yeah.
Yeah, we're womp, 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 womp.
Yep, that's
womp,
right, yeah.
And it's like it's nonstop until you run out of ammo, right?
So we got
Yeah.
burst sidearms, burst hand cannons, your pulse rifles, and now we got a burst trace rifle. I love this kind of stuff, man.
Yeah, so outside of this unique firing behavior, as I deal damage with it, you can see down in the bottom left corner we have arc alignment. And what that's doing is charging the coils of the weapon.
Je vais faire l'autre.
Once it's fully charged, if I press and hold to auto reload, or sorry, special reload.
Oh, right.
As I hip fire, I jolt anything I hit.
Yeah.
So the jolt is a debuff, right? So you can kind of charge this thing up, auto reload to go into the other fire mode, and then kind of sweep the beam across a bunch of enemies,
Yeah.
jolt them all, and then
Paintbrush of death, this thing. Yeah.
and then
Après,
the final perk this thing
l'autre,
has
donc,
is
recharge
when
auto,
ADS,
gna, gna, gna.
anytime you defeat
Est-ce que ça vaut le slot exo?
debuffed enemy, they explode into a
C'est
blinding
toujours ça la
explosion.
question.
So it's this loop where I can charge it up, I jolt enemies,
Yeah.
I defeat the jolted enemies with the ADS shot,
C'est
which
toujours, est-ce que ça
explodes
vaut le
and
slot
damages
exo?
more enemies, which
Yeah.
charges it up. And
Yeah.
it's
The
this-
loop continues,
Yeah,
honestly, yeah.
This thing has, I think, a really high skill
Oh
ceiling.
non.
And this is just this one
Ah, ça
weapons
va.
loop. There's obviously all the different artifact mods. There's all the
Oh,
new
yeah.
aspects. There's the new gear we're going to have available to us through the
Mais
Dreadnought.
pourquoi ah, ok.
Theory crafters update your
J'allais dire.
spreadsheets. the
Yeah.
Pourquoi ils ne montrent pas, mais
You
ils en
can-
cooldown?
There's some big brain combos you can pull off.
Là, on voit la
I will be
perk comme
counting
de
on
pro.
stealing all of them. All right, so we also really
Sans la
quickly before we
voix.
move on, we
Le mec
have
a une bulle, donc c'est pas ouf. Mais...
some new armor as well with Trials. Dylan, can you briefly tell us a little bit as well about the new updates to Trials and the new armor?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So, I mean, we'll still have Heresy gameplay on here, but as I was saying, like, once you're kind of like, oh, hey, I've been playing that for a bit, I want to go play my core rituals, like Nightfalls, Crucible, that kind of stuff. If I want the end game
légère.
PvP experience, Trials is getting kind of a rework. It's
On a
mostly
coéquipier,
focused around the lighthouse experience.
pour parler des mines
The
vertes,
main goal,
il dit les
big shout out
légères.
to Mercules
Les
on the
mines
team that's
légères.
been working on this for a while, and then Test and everybody
On
too.
comprend, non?
But what is a Trials experience when it's not flawless or bust?
Right.
What is something where, as a lesser skilled player, somebody that just wants to go in and play some like elimination, get in, get some rewards, and then also visit the lighthouse and see our friend Saint?
Yeah.
So ultimately, it's framed more around streaks. So you don't need that flawless 7 games in a row ticket to go up to the lighthouse. Now it's more, oh, hey, I won 2 games in a row, lost a couple,
Ouais,
but
moi, je dis les
ultimately got
couleurs.
7 over time.
Non,
Now I
des
can go to
lourdes.
the lighthouse, open
Des
that
lourdes.
chest, and then get
Non,
some
je dis
cool
lourd
rewards.
d'XP.
Yeah.
So we had
Et verte et violette,
a
peut-être.
big an emphasis
Moi,
on
je dis lourd
big
d'XP.
article go out about Crucible. There's some
Bon, moi, j'aime
comp
bien le
changes,
skin
there's
du
a bunch of
Titan
matchmaking
sur
stuff, but also Trials is our main
ces
game.
nouveaux skins de
Or main focus for that. And you can see the armor that you get on there. You'll be getting these pieces like once a week or a couple times a week through challenges or opening the chest.
Nice.
But we're going to that kind of Osirian,
Une
that
mine
Egyptian theme
légère.
again. And these pick shaders great. It's one of those pieces where,
Valide.
okay, I'm going to be spending a couple weeks in here to fizzle. Oh my gosh, don't carry me, teach me.
Yeah.
But yeah, even
Just
if
don't
you're-
go up against me while you're out there. If you could do me a solid,
yeah,
that'd be great.
even if you're not high skill, it's like you can earn these armor pieces. The
Yeah.
cool cosmetic
Moi,
bit
c'est
is
pour me
like,
dire
oh
que vous
hey,
pouvez les
as a
gagner,
high
même si vous
skill
n'êtes pas
player,
bon,
I
vous pouvez
still
aller au
want that
farm, même si vous n'êtes pas
representation
bon.
of what flawless used to encapsulate. So if you hit a 5, a 6, a 7
Oh,
win
nice.
streak and go open that chest, you're unlocking different glows. You're getting different cosmetics like ships, ghosts,
D'avoir une
the
bonne nouvelle.
sparrow,
Aura farming time.
right?
That's right.
And then afterwards, how long of a streak can you go on? We're going to have a new emblem tracker where it's like, oh man, I went on a 25 win streak in Trials. I'm kind of hot right now. And then
Said
you have,
Andy never.
yeah, Andy saying, hey, Dylan, you want to play Discord? And I'm like, sorry, I'm a bit too busy.
It's all right. We get it. You're a
Légère
big
pour
deal.
les
But
unités.
not
Mais non,
really-
thank
mais
you,
Chris,
honestly,
il dit légère pour les
in the
vertes.
interest of being busy, thank you and yours, obviously, putting together that article. If anyone wants to see all of that in painstaking detail, it took a village. So Dylan, to you and the PvP Strike team and everyone, thank you a ton for getting all that information together. I know we have one more topic to move on to, but I'm realizing in my notes I didn't quite get to speak to the reprised weapons. Let's call out a couple before we move on. There's one in particular I'm actually pretty excited about. It's the return of probably one of my favorite pulse rifles. I've been watching a lot of TikTok. Our friend Epic Defender out there is running Fighting Lion and, Cold Denial. So I've gone ahead and personally dusted off my Cold Denial, which is now also making a return. So if you don't still have it from Season of Arrivals, now's your chance. Dylan, we were talking about this a little bit earlier. What's your favorite role for this one?
Well, so back in the day, I always made sure to have Head Seeker, and it was kind of a niche perk back then. It was
Yeah.
like, oh, hey, it helps with one-on-ones a bit.
Right.
But it has been buffed over time. It's been a while since Season of Arrivals. So
Yeah.
I'm going to be going for Head Seeker again on this baby.
Yeah.
And like, one of the cool things is that all of the reprisals are going to be dropping day 1 of Act 1.
Cool.
So you can go and get this. There were a few
Encore,
others
oui, qu'on peut les
that
avoir-
were
on peut les
mentioned,
avoir
or
day
I
one.
believe you're about to mention.
Non, faut attendre
Another
3
one. Yes, that's
semaines.
right. We can honestly, I can talk about. Or wait, my favorite role is the next weapon.
I don't care about your favorite role.
Okay,
No,
fair
no,
enough.
no,
You know
go,
what?
go, go.
No, that's fine. You know what? Message received. I'll leave that for my
What is your
inventory
favorite
alone.
role? Because we debated this.
Well, there's.
Come on.
All right, it's very close. It's Zen Moment Head Seeker, but
Okay. No, that's good.
It's
That's
just a 2-burst machine. But another one I want to call out, one that's so well beloved by the community that a member, a content creator in our community named themselves after it. Whispering Slab Enjoyer. Whispering Slab is now also getting reprised as well. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities for y'all to go ahead and add this one back into your inventory. Is there going to be any new roles added for this one as well, Dylan?
Bon, après,
Yeah, I mean, all of the weapon rolls, they're going to be a bit revamped. There
Tant
will be
mieux si
some
c'était
heavy
vos armes
hitters from the
préférées,
past,
quoi.
but also new perks have been introduced over time.
Yeah.
I mean, for the seasonal weapons too, I believe it was, Morgan Dickens, like working with her to see what are all the different roles, what can we call it on the stream.
Yeah.
She put a lot of love into those. Big shout out to the rest of the team as well. Like, I wish I could name every single person, but
Yeah.
as you said, it takes a village, it takes a city to build a game.
Absolutely.
So big love for everybody.
Yeah, we're just the
C'est
ones that are
vrai,
here
c'est
today.
rare.
There's obviously a ton of
C'est vrai combien de
incredible
place je
peers
suis,
of
là?
ours here at Bungie that are
Dans
behind
mon
the scenes
corps?
building all of this every single day. So to our teammates and
682 sur
compatriots at
700.
Bungie, we couldn't do it without you. Thank
Sauf
you
que
so much.
mon marqueur et mon
Are
chasseur,
there
ils
any
sont
weapons
fous.
you're looking forward to?
Ooh, yeah, let's really quickly
Et mon
check.
titan, bon.
I'm looking
Et
forward to
mon
all the
commis,
new
je suis à 12 sur
Dreadnought
21.
weapons.
Yeah.
They look so gorgeous, especially the new support frame. So
Yeah.
I'll be rocking that through my run throughs the Nether. Just like watching our playtesters like run through the final bubble there, they were struggling and they need some healing.
Yeah.
So I'll be rocking that, healing my teammates.
You're a better man than I am.
Yeah.
But we already knew that, obviously. Eric, any one last one that you want to call out before we move on?
That Whispering Slab is just so sexy, man.
Isn't it?
Like,
honestly,
just
what a
like
distinctive bow. Like, how do you?
It is. It's just like a big flat thing with a string. It's like, I don't know.
You know it means pain when you see it. Honestly.
Ouais, non, c'est chiant la place
absolutely.
dans le corps.
Do you shoot arrows from it, or do you just take it and hit
Ouais,
people
qu'est-ce qu'il
with it?
forcément devait pas
Depends
s'impressionner.
whether you're out here tight. All right, so we obviously have talked through a lot of stuff today, but there is plenty more for you to go ahead and
Non, il y a
dive
vraiment
into
toute place dans le
when
corps.
Heresy launches next week on February 4th. But before we go ahead and obviously conclude the show, we've got a couple more announcements to talk through, including our next dungeon race. Dylan, this is something you and your compatriots
va être
on the
bien.
community team have told us all about
Après,
in
en
past vlogs
vrai,
and stuff, but a quick recap for
comme je
anyone
vous
out
ai
there.
dit,
Can
pour
you
un
tell us a little
épisode
bit
qui
about the
me...
Sunder Doctrine race?
Yeah, so Sunder Doctrine, that's
Me
going to be
disait rien de
launching on
spécial.
February 7th at Reset.
Okay.
We're going to do the contest
Hormis
mode as
l'environnement,
well.
bah, finalement,
Some people call it a race to the top.
Yeah.
So with our last dungeon, we had a
peut
podium
être cool.
finish where it was the first 3 fire teams are winners for second, third. This time we're going back to that format of a singular fire team will be crowned. They will be that first to cross the finish line. The really cool thing about this as well is we're kind of mixing up what is the stake, what is the reward.
Yeah.
Last dungeon we did a really cool hoodie with some personalization. This time around we're doing a trophy. It's going to be nice little trophy. It's not not as big as say the raid title belts that you get, but it's going to be something that's very special, customized, like unique to this experience.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Joe, to the raid and dungeon team, and then also.
Moi, je veux juste jouer en mode contest.
Tension Scrap.
C'est ça qui est
We're
marrant.
going to be partnering with them to create this trophy, and we'll have a picture of it in a TWID next week, or maybe even later this week.
On avait compris la première fois.
It's going to be something that
partenariat.
represents this dungeon, and it's going to be pretty fun.
That's super exciting.
So-
And also,
Merci
our
pour
friends on
ton
the Good Super
sub,
Products team have
Arthur.
been hard in work making sure that all of us that dive in, because I've never done a contest mode in my life, I'm not brave enough.
Il shout-out beaucoup.
There's some stuff we go ahead for
Merci
the Guardians to go ahead
beaucoup,
and earn as well.
Brian.
Dylan, can you tell us a little bit about what we're seeing here too?
Sure. Yeah. So on the screen, this is going to be earnable
Oh, il y a
just
un
by playing through.
bracelet.
We have a new. I love this note sheet, man. Work shirt. So
Work shirt.
It has a hood, but it's not the hoodies of old. This is
Yeah.
going to be a new thing. A work shirt that you can earn. The wristband
work
was
shirt,
a
je suis
pretty
pas
big winner
très-
for players. They enjoyed earning that last
Yeah,
go, so
definitely.
we have that again. And then we also have our Bungie rewards, the title pin. So go in, do all of the challenges, the triumphs. I
Le
believe
petit
solo as
bracelet, il
well,
est
which
sympa.
I
J'allais la
applaud
faire.
everybody that
donc.
does solo dungeons because it's just insane to me.
Yeah.
But you
Bien
can earn
sûr.
this pin to represent how hardcore you are.
Yeah.
And then we have just general pins and rewards that you can get as well.
Very cool. So
and this
mortals
is
like
out-
I can go ahead and get my hands on something as well, right?
True.
It's like,
And then these are outside of like contest mode. So contest mode, you get that unique emblem in game. With normal mode, there will be an emblem, there will be those rewards, weapons, etc.
Certainly.
But then some things out of game as well. So
Awesome.
to get into the contest mode, 1995 is the recommended power.
Okay.
Outside of that, it's like
1995.
if contest isn't your thing, once that fire team
Non, non, mais
finishes
c'est notre
first,
thing,
then we open up
le
normal
contest.
mode afterwards. So.
but either way, contest will be available for that first 48 hours.
First 48 hours
Cool.
too.
Awesome.
And then
48 heures.
if you want to join in with the community and have a watching experience, we have the Dungeon Zone hosted by CB Gray and Evan F.
Couple of legends.
Yeah, big thank you to them because this is going to be a community-driven kind of like, hey, they're tracking a ton of teams that are vying for that first place.
Yeah.
They're going to be hopping through that. They'll have some
Je me
pre-show
rappelle,
stuff
ils
that's
avaient
really
dit
fun to watch.
KO
We'll also have
dans la
Twitch
première
drops,
édition.
we'll have
Là.
unique emblems to earn
Parce que
through
ça a mis
that.
du temps.
So yeah, tons of folks to watch and then tons of gameplay. to
C'était-
jump
ah non,
into
oui, non,
on,
ils avaient fait-
on the 7th.
That rules.
CB
Can't wait.
Gray et l'autre
Excellent. Well,
là,
everyone as well, if they need to
ils
find
avaient
this,
fait un
this
show où
was
ils
in a previous
suivaient
Twitch
Aurait
as
du
well.
Yeah, so
Salut.
we have a previous TWID.
Et c'était
We're
sans
going to have
fin.
another TWID just before the 7th to walk through this again. And
Parce
then we
que
also
c'était
have
dur
like the
comme
terms and
raid.
conditions for the dungeon race and all that. That's on help.bungie.net. So.
Excellent. Very cool. All right. Excited. Can't wait to tune in. CB Gray, Evan F. Can't wait to go ahead and see what you got in store for us. But now we have one more item to speak about. As has become
Yep,
tradition in these streams, we've got one more thing to go ahead and
Allez,
show
vas-y,
you.
one more thing.
Now it's time to take a first look at the newest collaboration that's going to be coming to Destiny 2, and this one is joining us from a galaxy far, far away. Chat, I'm going to keep an eye on you. I'm sure you're going to start going nuts soon, but that's right. Our next collaboration is inspired by a universe that's loved by so many of us here at the studio, Star Wars. Now, today, we're going to be taking a look
En
at
plus,
the
le
new Star
titre, c'est
Wars-inspired
Stormtrooper.
armor sets that are going to be joining Destiny. And I say there's no time quite like the present. First up,
Oh,
we've
chérie.
got the Covert Ranger set for Hunters. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at that one. This one is inspired
trop
by
bien.
none other than the elite Death Troopers. Oh my god, I can't wait.
Such a beautiful
Non,
cape.
des
Seriously.
troopers.
Hunters are never going to need to use Super Black again.
Ah, du coup, il nous faut
Don't
le,
tempt us, we'll find
il nous
out.
faut le revêtement qu'on est en
Yes, this
train
one, and as
d'avoir
of the
là.
other ones that you're going to see are
Moi, j'ai pas
obviously all
fini
going to be
tous les
arriving
bento,
on
machin.
day one of Heresy.
J'y vais après, là.
Up next, Warlocks. Worry not, we've got you covered as well.
En
We've
vrai,
got
pas
the
mal.
Royal Protector set for you guys, and this time it's inspired
Warlock
by the
est pas mal
Imperial
aussi, hein.
Royal Guards. If you've ever found yourself in a throne room in the Star Wars universe, you've probably been intimidated by these guys. Now's your
Très,
chance to go
très
ahead and do the
stylé.
same
Le
intimidation
brassard
when
est
you load into
ouf.
trials or anything
Le
like
brassard,
that.
c'est celui des 30 ans.
This one is
Ça va trop bien avec.
obscenely cool. And then last but very not least,
Mais ça ira
we've got the
parfaitement
Shock
avec mon
Enforcer set for
gameplay, Link.
Titans. This one's inspired by the classic Stormtroopers.
Yeah, and this one actually I heard comes with
Je
with
rigole.
an intrinsic perk that takes
Mais oui,
your
pourquoi ils ont
accuracy.
pris un assistant féminin?
So
Pretty cool.
it's all right. They're Titans. They're just going to go ahead and punch you anyway. Honestly, we'll check on that intrinsic perk. But yes,
Bon,
this
bah, vous me
one
verrez en
obviously,
Stormtrooper. Hein.
to the classic Stormtroopers out there, the fans of those Titans, you are going to go ahead and be set and ready to go ahead and don this.
C'est obvious.
Now, obviously, there's going to be some stuff that will transcend across all of the different classes, including a new ghost shell that we'd love to go ahead and show you as well. We now have, let's go ahead and take a look here. This is the DS2 Ghost Shell, as you can tell, operational, but it's inspired by none other than the return of the Jedi Death Star. So it's a bit of a work in progress, but who among
Moi,
us
j'aime
isn't?
pas trop comment ça
So
rend.
good,
Mais,
man. I love the effect that comes out of the front.
I know, it never is, honestly. I remember
Il
the
est
first
trop
time I saw it,
mimi.
like I quietly lost myself, honestly, in a meeting. Thankfully, I was muted on Teams. But yeah, this one has been super exciting. Now, there's also more as a
J'avoue,
part of this
leur
collaboration for you to
oui.
explore. So
Toujours
worry not,
cette
there's
histoire
also
d'armure
a
exo qui vient de
sparrow, a
finir.
ship, emotes, and a finisher, all for you to check out when Heresy launches.
Oh, les finishers, ils vont être
But
fous,
of
je suis
course,
sûre.
we'd be remiss if
Vous
we
pensez
didn't
qu'il y en
take a
aura un
chance,
comme
for
ça, là?
starters, to give huge thanks to our friends here at Bungie that helped put this together, Kelly out on the marketing team, and then our friends over at Lucasfilm Games. It's been incredible to go ahead and work with you side by side to put this together. And of course, to make sure you're all in the know, and we give you a heads up of exactly where this is going to
Oh, la
be,
force,
will not
je
be at
pense.
Toshi Station with the power converters. These will be available on Eververse when Heresy launches on day one. So just want to make sure you're all aware of that. And also, I got to say, I, for one, am going to be keeping a close eye on the R Destiny fashion subreddit because I can't wait to see what they got for us after this.
I mean, they're going to have this. They're going to have new Trials armor, new seasonal or episodic armor.
Yeah.
They're going to have tons of new Eververse options, but tons of new options you earn in the game. Put it all together, make something dope.
Yeah. Yep. So very exciting. Well, I think, honestly, we've had a huge docket of things to go ahead and go on through, but now we can all collectively exhale and leave a little bit more for the Guardians at home to discover when Heresy launches next week. But that concludes it for our show today. So first things first, obviously, Guardians, to all of you out there, even to the individual spamming my face as an emote in chat, thank you all so much for joining us today. These shows are a ton of fun for us to get to put on. We love getting to share what we've been working on with all of you.
Bon, c'était bien
But it doesn't
présenté,
matter
hein.
unless you show up. So
Ça, pour le coup, pas de
genuinely, thank you all for taking
soucis. Ça
the time
donnait
to join
envie
us
sur un
today.
épisode, alors que les
Obviously,
épisodes...
to our
voilà.
fire team in the back of the house, to my compatriots in
détester
social
tout
media,
ça,
Mitch,
mais bon.
to Ashley, to Peyton,
Surtout à des
they're the
extensions.
ones really driving this stream. We just get to talk about what's on stream. So thank you for going ahead and lending us your talents. Obviously, to our friends
clair.
here on the couch as well, Nico, who is
Je serai en
somewhere
live
around
mardi
here,
prochain,
obviously. Nico, thank you for joining us.
pour le
Eric,
lancement de la
Ryan,
saison,
Dylan,
si
thank you guys.
jamais.
We appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Et
too.
pareil pour le donjon,
you.
vendredi
To the crew here
7
as
du
well.
coup.
Again, you have the challenge of dealing with me, so thank you all so much for your hard work. We seriously appreciate it. As a quick reminder to close things up, Heresy Act 1 launches just
Ouais,
next
quick
week
reminder,
on February 4th, so
remets-
go ahead,
mets les
make
dessineurs
sure
sur PC,
you've
là.
got that day off. I
Et
don't,
remets-nous
but
le
I'll
début
be
du
cheering
jeu.
for all of you that do, so you can check out the Nether, all of the new gear and weapons that you're going to be able to have available to you. Start checking out how to get your hands on those exotics and building them all up. Our collaboration with Lucasfilm Games, Star Wars is pretty exciting, and of course the Sundered Doctrine Dungeon
Moi, ça
race
va
will be
bien
there
avec
as
vous deux,
well.
ouais. Juste
But
part.
that's right. So now we're going to go
Et
ahead and
bon
get ready
raid,
to close
alors.
things out. But before we do, we're going to leave the stream live for just a little bit longer. So if you need to go ahead and wrap up that Twitch drop, you can do so. And go ahead and do us a favor and stick around, because once we finish up here, we're going to raid our good friend Macdix. So while I appreciate the
Bon, bah,
bits
bisous,
and
hein.
cheers and everything here in chat, save your Twitch Prime sub, save everything you can. Go over to him, give him a follow, donate to the Game to Give stuff, pardon me, if you can, to help us do some good through the Bungie Foundation. But that's it. So for now, thank you all so much again for joining us. But in the meantime,
Mais
take
c'est
care
pas
of
dire au
yourselves,
revoir.
take care of each other.
Allez.
See you all Star Side.
Oh, Dieu! J'ai cru qu'ils diraient jamais au revoir. Pourquoi on n'a pas de trailer qui passe pendant le reveal? Ils ont oublié? Vraiment, hein. C'est le petit truc dans le show. Manquerait le trailer, quoi. Trailer intro, trailer sortie. Point. 10 ans pour dire au revoir, mais oui. Vraiment. Vous en avez pensé quoi, du coup? Bon, comme je vous dis, vous allez pas me dire c'est the next big thing, hein. On est sur un épisode, hein. Mais c'était hypant. Je suis hypée. C'est moi ou Heresy? Attendez, faut que je mesure. J'ai un doute là sur l'écran. Oui, Ah, je déteste ce qu'ils ont fait. En fait, le centrage s'est fait par rapport au bord ici, et non par rapport au bord ici. Et ça se voit du coup. Voilà. Vous voyez ce que je veux dire ou pas? Bon, bref. C'est un détail. Ouais. Mais ça me perturbe. Il est décalé. Ça me trigger. Voilà, ce sera mon avis final. J'ai personnellement éteint mon écran et tapé mon mur. Tu fais comme deux. Mais oui, mais ça me trigger. C'est terrible. Et le thanks for watching. Ah ouais, non. Bon, bref. Je vois que ça maintenant. Voilà. C'est l'histoire. Terrible. Elle va passer tout l'épisode à penser à ça. Je ne jouerai pas à cet épisode, ils ont tout ruiné. C'est terrible. Non, bah, comme j'ai dit, contente de retrouver le cuirassé. Après, ce qu'ils ont montré du cuirassé était déjà hyper redondant, là. Je sais pas, je trouve qu'ils l'ont pas mis en valeur dans la présentation. On va voir comment c'est dans l'activité. Comme je vous ai dit, le petit bonus, ce serait qu'il y ait des secrets, quoi. Ce qu'ils ont dit sur le fait de pas retourner voir un perso, ça c'est cool. L'effet fail-safe ou Eido, on n'en peut plus. Et quelque part, c'est des choses qui vont avoir un impact sur ce qui va arriver après, qui nous importe plus, comme je disais, c'est quand même les extensions. Donc voilà, après, oui, effectivement, il y a un problème avec le coffre, hein, je maintiens, je suis d'accord, Seraph, à un moment, on peut plus. On peut pas avoir 7 ans de jeu, je sais plus comment ça fait, Destiny 2. Et 700 places, quoi. Donc, c'est plus... Ouais. Les étapes, normalement, ne sont plus... Depuis Revenant, ne sont plus liées aux semaines. Mais après, t'as des nouveautés qui sortent, par contre. Comme quand on a fait Skolas ou quoi. Mais ouais. Ouais. Niveau histoire, ça a l'air quand même pas mal. Il peut y avoir des cinématiques sympas, je pense. Les personnages qu'ils ont dit, c'est cool. Eris, Sloane. Le décor est bon, quoi. Mais voilà. Très bon jeu, Heroes of Might and Magic. On peut pas, je n'y vois pas, je vois que de la volonté. Mais non, mais vraiment, parce qu'en fait, chaque saison, on a des nouvelles armes, chaque extension, on a tout un nouveau set de trucs. Derrière, on a 3 persos, normalement. Si tant est que tu joues un peu. Et encore, moi là, ça fait un bout de temps que je joue plus que mon titan. Mon chasseur et mon arca sont à peine au niveau, quoi. Ils sont ok, hein, mais ils sont pas... Voilà. Si tu joues vraiment à fond les 3, que en plus tu veux avoir... garder tes bons rôles de chaque truc... Et le coup des skins sur les exos, je suis d'accord, Seraph. Totalement d'accord. Bon, on va aller jouer, justement. Ce sera la fin. Je rediffuserai ça, je pense, pour les gens que ça intéresse de voir ce qui se passe sur cet épisode. M'en tenez par rigueur si j'ai dit des trucs qui vous paraissaient faux sur l'instant ou pas. N'hésitez pas à donner vos avis, surtout en commentaire, pour ceux qui regardent en rediff. Vous avez le droit d'ailleurs de ne pas avoir apprécié, comme c'était le cas d'une personne dans le chat, il n'y a aucun souci à ça. Vous avez le droit d'avoir apprécié aussi. Ou de ne pas avoir d'avis, et c'est du direct. Donc voilà, c'est pas une analyse. Ah, ils ont raid. C'est pas une analyse de l'épisode, c'est du live react. Voilà. Combien d'armes sauvées dans ton coffre utilises vraiment? Bah pas mal quand même. En vrai. Encore hier, quand je suis allée en bannière, j'ai sorti 2 trucs que je jouais pas, et que j'ai bien aimé, tu vois. Parce que c'est des bons rôles. Donc au moment où tu te dis, ah tiens, j'aimerais bien me faire un nouveau mix, et tu te sors tes 2 bons rôles, bah ça marche. Pas les 700 places. Non, mais... Ah, quand même, hein. En vrai de vrai, mon coffre, il est quand même... C'est que du bon, hein, dedans. Des bonnes armes, hein. Je regarde... Mais ouais. Non, non, c'est trié, hein. Je trie à chaque saison. Je trie, par contre, je garde que des trucs qui sont quali, normalement. Ça va. Par contre, je garde un peu trop de pièces d'armure, mais le problème, c'est ce côté... on sait jamais. Avec les pièces d'armure, il y a le on sait jamais, quand même. Un petit peu, je trouve. Ouais, si tu joues un seul perso, ça va. Ouais, c'est juste sur les armures. Pour les armes, j'ai pas de... Par exemple, j'ai pas de scrupule à démanteler quelque chose que je sais que je peux craft. Ça, vraiment, bien sûr. Pareil pour des exos, voilà. Même si, voilà, forcément, les exos que j'utilise fréquemment, ceux-là, je les garde. Obviously. Mais après, les armures, faudrait presque se dire aux F et au moment où t'as envie de te refaire un truc, mais automatiquement, tu gardes quelques... Enfin, tous tes trucs qui sont à peu près ok au niveau stat, tu les gardes. Parce que ça peut faire le build, mais ouais. J'ai que mon Warlock. Ah oui. Non, moi là, j'ai des trucs des 3 classes, hein, donc... Prendre la place. Ça va prendre la place. Voilà, voilà.